now the stream is working all of a sudden.
Great.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer. It is 6 now, past the hour of 12 noon on this Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. Normally begin the show with it's a great day to be a Wisconsinite. I would say today is a tough day to be a Wisconsinite. Welcome in, everybody. Todd Allbaugh along with you, made it back in here into the worldwide headquarters of Civic Media, high atop State Street, a block off the Capitol Square in Madison. Many thanks to the great folks at Delta for getting me and all the equipment, Zommers. You'll be happy to know all of our remote equipment made it back to Madison as well here. So left Seattle around 12:30 in the morning local time and got into Madison here about an hour ago. So between the yelling of the Packer game over the weekend and kind of flying overnight, I don't know whether it is the air in the plane or whatever, my voice is a little gone. But I apologize in advance to our listeners for that.
It's not too bad, though.
All right,
and, thanks to those wonderful Pelican cases that you got as far as the gear getting home safe.
Right, exactly. And a shout out to all, not just Delta, but all of the great airlines and their crew, all those people working late nights, early mornings, through the night, who are down there in the cold tarmacs and the snow and the slush and making sure that things get to where they need to be. They are truly heroes, especially this time of year when there's a lot of the transportation going on due to the holidays. Glad to have you along with us. Trygve Olsen, our wonderful friend and who planned on being a guest host today, is joining us live from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., like myself, a former Republican and now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Trygve, thanks so much for being here. I got in a little earlier than planned, so I thought, well, I'll pop on here. And in light of yesterday's tragedy here in Madison, we talked a little bit this morning. We said, you know what, why don't we just kind of do this together? And so welcome, Trygve. I wish it were under better circumstances, but on days like this, no better person to have than somebody I trust and a friend like you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Todd. Man,
Yeah.
you're doing, I tell you, listeners should appreciate, Todd got off a red eye. He got about 4 hours of sleep, and he's like, I think we should both do it today. And
Yeah.
I was glad, because day like today, it's good to have people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to try to turn a page and talk a little bit about the lighter things in hour number 2 and talk about our time out in Seattle and the great Packer win over the weekend. But I want to begin off, and of course, coming up in hour 2, we have our grown-up gift list text to win contest. And I believe today we are giving away a $100 bill in hour number 2. So be listening for that. We'll give you the word of the hour next hour and a what's worse as well. But Trygve, I want to start with the news of the day. It broke while we were on the air yesterday and ended up anchoring with Zommers, about 45 minutes, a special broadcast yesterday, Aaron, and basically consumed the day yesterday on the show, as it should. Many thanks to you, Aaron, and also to Corey Hartman and Jamie Martinson and all of our great folks here who helped us get that special broadcast on the air. I'm just going to read a quick overview of where we're at right now. This is from the Associated Press, Scott Bauer. And from his story today, investigators today are focused on trying to determine a motive in a Wisconsin school shooting that left a teacher and a student dead and 2 other children in critical condition. Sean Barnes, the police chief in Madison, said investigators were aware of a quote-unquote manifesto, if you want to call it that, or some type of letter posted by someone who might have known the shooter, 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow. Quote, we haven't been able to locate the person yet, but that's something that we're going to work on today, Barnes told CNN. We'll also be looking into Rupnow's effects, if she had a computer or cell phone, to see if there's any transmission between her and someone else that will give us some idea of what type of planning went on, unquote. Police responding to the shooting yesterday at Abundant Life Christian School found Rupnow with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The shooter died on the way to the hospital. Police said the shooting occurred in a study hall. Besides the deaths, 6 people were wounded, including 2 students who remain in critical condition. Abundant Life is a non-denominational Christian school, pre-kindergarten through high school, with approximately 420 students in Madison, the state capital, of course. Barbara Weirs, the school's director of elementary and school relations, said that when they practice safety routines, leaders always announce that it's a drill. That did not happen yesterday. It was the last week before Christmas break. Trivia, a couple other notes here I just want to get to because I thought this was important. And again, talking about team effort here at Civic Media, our very own Terry Barr shared this with me yesterday. I found it enormously helpful and insightful that approximately 200 families from some 56 different churches in the greater Dane County area, including metropolitan Madison and its surrounding communities, are represented in the student body. So to Scott Bauer's reporting and to add on this great reporting by our very own Terry Barr, this is not just one church or one denomination. There are a lot of people in Madison who aren't maybe even necessarily people of faith, but because this school has a good reputation academically and athletically, a lot of people send their kids there. So this is why this is, obviously the big story is the loss of life here and the shooting, but this affects the greater community of Madison because so many different people were involved in this. And I think that's why it's really shaken the city of Madison and the surrounding area, is because the ripple effects go so far.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And then when these things happen, right, in a place like Madison, Wisconsin, or most of the communities where they happen, people don't see their communities in the light of where something like this can happen, but they can happen anywhere. And I know that there's a lot of emotion around what happened. I also know that there are a lot of people in the community and individuals who are hurting right now. When any of these kinds of things happen, there are people hurting, whether it's the 2 boys who were left orphaned with the CEO of United Health, or the parents of this girl who've lost their child and are dealing with the ramifications of what she apparently did, and the people who, innocent victims, the teacher, the other kids who are in the hospital, and the students who observed it. And I know, personally, under different circumstances, what it's like to lose a child. And I can't tell you, every time one of these things happens, I think about that, because I will tell you, I can't imagine that there's anything more painful for someone to go through. And it's a hurt that is there for the rest of your life, regardless of moving on. So,
and go ahead.
So
I've always appreciated
you have
your vulnerability and sharing that with you, that you and your wife lost a child some years ago. And it's something that I would not wish upon anyone. And it's just an unspeakable thing. I could never understand it. It's one of those things, unless you've gone through it, you could never understand it fully.
No, and I can tell you, having gone through it, and I think, I heard President Biden once speak about losing his kids, his younger kids who were killed in a car accident. Eventually you get to a place after a lot of years of tears where you can look back and smile, and maybe there is no why to it. There's only what you can take and what we can take from what happened, and learn lessons from it. But yeah, I mean, it's a tragedy. It really, really is.
Yeah. I guess that's where for the next, we're going to dedicate kind of this full hour to talking about this. I know other people on the network have as well, as is appropriate. And what I love about this trivia, having you here today, is you bring the unique perspective, the unfortunate and tragic perspective of having lost a child. You have that. I also want to spend some time today asking the question, when is the right time to have a discussion about this? I was talking to somebody I really respect this morning, kind of thinking through this. You and I talked earlier, and this individual said, this is very frustrated. Just said, when is the right? So, okay, if we need to let people grieve, which of course is important, then a couple 3 days, are we not going to talk about it then? And it's happening today, here, but tomorrow or the next day, unfortunately, it might happen in Texas or wherever. So when is the right time? I think that's an important discussion to have in how we actually make progress, because Zommers will remember, long-time listeners will remember, Zommers, maybe you know better than I, you have a younger mind. It was when we were in the old building yet on Old University Avenue. So it had to be at least over a year and a half ago or a year ago. And I came in one day, and the top 5 stories on CNN were shootings. And I think 3 of those were school shootings.
Yeah.
And I just
the
said,
gun violence database, and it was just
right,
crazy.
And I said, this is enough. And I spent, an hour, 90 minutes just talking about that.
Yeah.
And I made it very clear to our listeners, as a former Republican, as a gun owner, as a hunter, I believe in reasonable gun reform. I believe in red flag laws. I believe in waiting periods. I don't think there's any hunter worth their salt that has to go out and buy a gun for a hunting trip this afternoon. I believe that if you are convicted of domestic assault, or if you have pending charges, or if you have a mental health issue, you should not have guns. They should be held until you reach a time when you're able to have them or not have them. I believe that no deer hunter that I know needs an AR-15 or to hunt a deer. I believe in automatic assault weapons bans. I also think that people should have the ability, like I do, to have a 12-gauge shotgun or a 30-06 to either hunt pheasant, turkeys, or deer. But I believe in reasonable gun reform laws. And we have to have a point in this country where we can sit down and say, okay, let's talk about what makes sense here. And so I always want to get that on the record, because I think it's just important that our listeners that might not have listened to the show before understand where I'm coming from on this. But Trivy, I want you to help us talk through a little bit. You've worked on the Hill in Washington, D.C. You've worked for very powerful people like Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and John McCain. I want to talk about how we get to meaningful gun reform laws here and the ramifications of this. And we'll also take your phone calls at 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. My goal this hour is to have a thoughtful discussion on this topic. We'll come back and take your calls. Trivy Olson on a Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Station 92.7 WMDX.
That was good.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding a unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The John and Gordy Show.
The can of coffee that I had here for our coffee maker, I don't know what happened to it, but it tasted like cigarettes the first time I brewed it in the coffee maker here. I don't know if I've gotten used to it or if the flavor has just gone away somehow.
Maybe people are putting their cigarette butts out in that can and you didn't know it.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. Matinee on Air.
Pete Schwaba, host of Nightlight, 6 to 8 p.m. I assume tonight you're going to talk about some of the Golden Globe nominations. This is a bone of contention for me.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Best TV series for musical or comedy, The Bear, is not a comedy. It's a drama.
It's a dramedy.
It's not a
It's a dramedy.
dramedy.
Who knows why they do it?
Because they can win. Because if you had to go up against the other dramas, they might not do as well.
Matinee on Air. Weekdays at 11 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app.
Out here in the middle of these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. That's how it feels when you're struggling with your mental health. But you don't have to feel alone. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute.
20 seconds.
Thank you. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Well, most days we are. Today, not so much. We'll have a little bit more fun. Hour number 2, 21 past the hour of 12 noon on Tuesday, December 17th. Zommers on the board. Trygve Olsen, senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, joins us. So kind to do so on a Tuesday from our nation's capital. Discussing this hour, the tragedy in Madison yesterday here at Abundant Life Christian School. Shooting that left one teacher, and reports I've seen so far that this was a substitute teacher. Not that it. I come from an entire family of educators. And every time one of these things happens, I cannot help but think about my sister and my brother-in-law. That this could have been them. And I don't know why, but the fact that it was reportedly a substitute teacher, here's somebody just trying to help out. Maybe it's a retired teacher. Maybe it's somebody trying to pick up a spare job, and they go in and they never come home. And the gunman, who happened to be a 15-year-old girl, according to the police, died of suicide. 2 others are in critical condition. We may have more details in the afternoon. Our news department will be, there are reports that we may have an update from Madison Police. We'll bring you updates via Civic Media throughout the afternoon, so be listening for that. Trygve, I want to let you talk here in a minute, but I want to point out something to our listeners. And again, I was at the anchor desk yesterday. We were in Seattle, but myself, Corey Hartman, was on the scene. And one of the great privileges of having this job and being behind this microphone is that people trust you to convey honest, accurate information. And I think it's really important that we stick to the facts of what we know, because we're just over 24 hours from this tragedy happening. And I don't think that we know yet, whatever legislation X, bill Y, we don't know yet whether any legislation would have prevented what happened yesterday. I mean, we hear, mental health, all right, which is a real thing. And it's beyond just being depressed and anxiety. And then you hear, well, it's parenting. Well, you can have the best parents in the world, but if you have a child that has a psychological condition such as schizophrenia or bipolar or a number of other things, it can chemically change that individual's brain beyond anything their parents raised them. We don't know where that gun came from. There are so many things we don't know yet. So while, yes, I certainly support reasonable gun reform, I think it's too soon to start saying, well, if this had happened legislatively, it would have prevented that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a few thoughts, Todd. I mean, the first thing is when these kinds of things happen, there is the act, right? And there's anger about it happening, as there should be. It's a natural human response to be angry about the situation, that these kinds of situations are happening, and that anger can happen on several levels. I think one thing, though, taking a deep breath and also understanding that there's a lot of parents who hugged their kids last night, not just in Madison, Wisconsin, but all around the country, and were maybe a little more appreciative last night than they were in the morning when their kids went off to school and they were busy, that their kids were home safely. And we can be angry about the fact that we have to live in a world where that's the reality, but we can also recognize that it's not that there is love. There's both good and bad in the world, and good things happen and bad things happen. And a lot of times what happens with these kinds of events and when tragedies like this happen is we give into our anger rather than embracing the reality that we can fix things and we can make things better in big ways and small. And that starts at an individual level. I think about where people were on 9/11, which was an act of extraordinary hate. And yet where I was sitting, that night I ended up going to an embassy in Vilnius, Lithuania, and there were thousands of people there saying, "We're with you." There were the people taking in people who landed in Nova Scotia into their houses who didn't have a lot. We need to take, I think, a deep breath, and we need to find ways to have trust and honesty with each other. You talked about ARs, right? The reality is if a kid goes out and turns 18 and buys 2 ARs and 6,000 rounds, there are people, somebody from the government needs to show up. We need to be in a society where somebody from the government could show up who's trusted and say, "Hey, you doing all right? Are you going to the range?" And check in with the people at the range. Some of this is a broader breakdown of trust because we have to solve this both individually and together. And we do that not by giving into the anger. If we give into the anger, then everybody just starts pointing fingers at each other and we get nowhere.
And for the record, you could disagree with me, but I personally just don't. I get it. People like to go out and shoot at the range. I just don't support citizens owning semi-automatic weapons like an AR-15. That's me. But
I get it. When my dad passed away, he had one, and I was getting the guns, and I was like, I don't have any need for this. I'm going to sell it. But I just think at the end of the day, there's an element of trust, and there's just this erosion of trust in each other that we have to get to.
Let's go quickly to the phone lines, 855-752-4842. Matt, we're up against the clock, about a minute, a little over a minute left. Okay, ask the question, and we'll get Trigby's answer on the other side. Go ahead, please.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I think we're a pretty sick country. Sandy Hook, the fact that nothing changed after that is just awful. And I just want to know, what is wrong with us? We've been so numb to violence now, and we just reelected a man that openly encourages violence, and people cheer for it. I've given up hope. I have hope in humanity, but this country is really, really nuts. Give me some hope, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Like Trigby said, number one, it's person by person. So the fact that you're, we all have to have hope in one another, Trigby.
We all have to have hope in one another, and I'll touch on that on the other side.
There you go. There's a teaser for you. Stay tuned. Your phone calls as well, 855-752-4842. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on a Tuesday, December 17th on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Conversation 92.7 WMDX.
We'll do that, or we'll touch on that, and then we got a couple things off the text line. You can go there too.
Anytime, find all of it at civicmedia.us.
After a strong year in the livestock market, the trading has seemed to hit a wall. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and John Heinberg, a market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, is here to explain why we are seeing the sudden decrease and livestock trading.
This one purely is a money flow situation in my mind, at least at this time frame. You're looking at a live cattle managed money or hedge fund position that was the largest in 5.5 years. On feeder cattle, they typically don't go long feeders. They actually went long on the feeder side, and then lean hogs was a record long position, by nearly 40,000 contracts compared to history. If you combine the three, live cattle, feeder cattle, lean hogs, it was basically 3 times the 5-year average in terms of length at this time window.
As Isaac Newton once said, what goes up must come down. And John Heinberg says that is exactly what has happened. From the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo, and we'll take a look at those midday markets right after this.
At Golden Harvest, we know that to thrive in the wild north, you have to be built for it. Introducing the Hawk, the Grizzly, and the Wolf. 3 corn hybrids bred for powerful performance. Like apex predators, Wild North hybrids are strong and fierce, ready to face the toughest agronomic threats and stand tall all season long. Enter the wild. Visit hybridsbuiltforthenorth.com.
On a dairy, decisions are never made in a vacuum. Your products, technologies, protocols, they're all connected. Or at least they should be. Introducing Empowered Dairy from Merck Animal Health, the only full solution portfolio in the dairy industry. Empower is more than just powerful identification, monitoring, and biopharma tools. It's about how they work together to eliminate guesswork and solve specific problems. Learn how at m-power-dairy.com.
Welcome back. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report. Now let's take a look at those midday markets from Chicago. The grain markets look to be taking a hit today as cash crop corn is down 3 1/4 at 441 3/4, and new crop corn is down 3 3/4 at 436 1/2. January soybeans are down 11 1/4 at 970 3/4, and November soybeans are down 15 1/4 at 983 1/2. March wheat is down 5 1/2 at 544 1/2, and July wheat is down 5 3/4 at 561 3/4. Class 3 milk contracts are showing some strength today, though, as January contracts are up 10 cents at 20.40 a hundredweight, and February contracts are up 8 cents at 20.05 a hundredweight. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and a touch cooler today with high temperatures still reaching the mid-30s. We've got a small shot of light snow pushing in this evening, continuing through the overnight and gone by tomorrow. Accumulations look like less than an inch, and tomorrow leaves us with crashing temperatures. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 33 at our studios.
Welcome to Staples.
Help! My family's in for the holidays and I need gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect! Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but the guy is never quiet.
Noise-canceling headphones. For you.
You get it.
Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples. And right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 12/28, in-store only.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Here's why I'm glad I don't work in an office. My wife is always talking about, she's a teacher. They put donuts in the teacher's lounge, there's sweets, there's snacks. It wasn't that way here today, but Nikki keeps those Biscoff cookies out there. I probably ate 12 of those today. The phrase, you are what you eat,
30
is
seconds.
very true because I was sitting in the office earlier prepping the show and I felt kind of doughy and I'm like, I feel like
There's no combination of words I could put on the back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I can try for your heart. And our dreams, and they are made out of real things, like a shoebox of photographs with sepia tone loving.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 now past the hour of 12 noon on this Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. Zommers on the board. Mr. Trygve Olsen joining us for this at least an hour and a half or so from Washington, D.C., former Republican like myself, Wisconsinite like myself, now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, spending this hour talking about the school shooting in Madison yesterday at Abundant Life Christian School that has left the shooter dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and at least a teacher also has died due to his shooting, and 2 other children in critical condition. And I know a lot of these, and I think that'll be questions for the Madison Police Department, because as we were anchoring this on the air yesterday, the numbers changed from 3 to 5, then 3, now down to 2 in terms of dead. I mean, 1 person is 1 too many. These are fluid situations, and I get that, but I think that'll be a question for law enforcement, why the numbers fluctuated so much. But Trygve, before the break, Matt in Middleton calling in saying, give us some hope here in terms of, can things be made better in terms of legislation? Is there a real opportunity, do you think, Trygve? And you're a guy, again, who's worked in the, I'll say it, the upper echelon. I think Mitch McConnell and John McCain, whether you agreed with them or not, whether you do agree with them or not, they're some of the most powerful people in Washington, D.C., and you work for them, you saw on the inside. In your opinion, having worked for guys like that, do you think that there's any sort of an opportunity to get meaningful legislation passed in the next 4 years while Trump is president, and at least the first 2, while Republicans control both houses of Congress, for meaningful gun reform?
Well, no. I think it will be really hard for that to happen, because I think one of the things that we have to deal with is we have to take a step back and recognize that, and I think that's to the caller's point. Give me some hope. The hope isn't, and the answers to these things, yes, can legislation and what the community is at a deeper level can do matter? Sure. But I also think that we as individuals have to all of us need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. We get, to a degree, the legislation and the world that we as humans choose to live in. And, I was thinking, can I give him some hope? Again, not to make this about me, but what I can tell you, having, from the experience of losing a child, and that's what's shocking about every one of these school instances, we can put ourselves in that perspective, right? The reality is, I don't know why my daughter would have been a freshman in college this year. I don't know why God didn't want me to have that child. I don't know why that happened to me. I don't know why the school shooting happened. But here's what I do know. I know that I probably wouldn't have my daughter Kaya, who is on the show Friday, who is essential to my world. And for some reason, God didn't think that I needed a Vilta, or maybe he did, because it made me a better person going through that, and a far more empathetic person, even when things like this happen. But what I also know is that, and I think about it all the time. I thought about it while I was at the game, that I was really lucky, because there wouldn't have been a Kaya if Vilta had lived. We were only going to have 2 kids in all likelihood. And so, to some degree, we have to get outside of all of those talking points, and we have to take a deep look when these things happen and say, what can I take away from this? Because that's the why in this. The why isn't really about legislation and all the rest of it. Those are functions of us as a society and of us as individuals saying, why is this happening, and what can I take? What can I take from the experience? And until we get that set, we won't have the kind of trust in each other that we need to get legislation and things passed.
Back to the text line, 855-752-4842. If you want to call in, 855-752-4842. You can also text on the Civic Media app. Andrew, listening in Maine via WAUK, asking or saying, quote, if it's too soon to talk about the Madison shooting, then let's talk about the Thurston High School shooting in May of 1998 in Oregon that left 2 dead at the school, plus the gunman's parents at his home, including the son of one of my coworkers at the time, unquote.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. And this
100%.
and I at the top of the show, I asked this really not knowing the answer. If people want, I mean, because I think this is what we not only as a radio host, but just like in our family of friends or our circle of friends. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do we talk about this or not? Like you don't want to come off as crude and cruel and crass, and you don't want people saying, "Good gosh, they haven't even buried their dead. Give them time." But the other, I don't want to say the other side. That's not right. But there's another really great point of, well, if we keep waiting for everyone to grieve, then we're never actually going to get to talking about things and coming to solutions. So, yeah, I think it's a great question.
It is. It's a really fair question, and it's one of those things people are tired of after every one of these, and I think parents in particular. I talked to a bunch of people because my daughter was in 4th grade when Uvalde happened. A bunch of other parents, and the number of people who said they were in tears after they dropped their kids off at school, and it shouldn't be that way. But what we have to all start asking ourselves is, all right, we don't want it to be this way. What is the art of realistic and possible? And maybe we have to start with smaller steps.
Yeah. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. L.A. Tom from Los Angeles. L.A., thanks for calling in. What say you?
Yeah, excuse my language here, but I am pissed. This is ridiculous. I put this all at the feet of the 5, as Matt Flynn would say, the 5 tarantulas on the Supreme Court that made basically bribery in our Supreme Court through Citizens United and money in politics. Draw the correlative effect from when that happened to now. There's too much money in politics. We need to get it out, and that will be actually intertwined with every issue that goes on. 90% or 70% of the country wants a Medicare for all system. We have politicians that don't do it. Because why? Because they're being bought off legally, legal bribery for free speech or for their speech. I'm just so sick of the fact that Americans are not getting the fact, whether you're on the left, the right, I don't care who you are, humanist. If you're a human person, you want to get money out of politics. It's screwing up everything. And go back to the days of FDR when this all this is all 100 years, same thing. Right. I mean, this is the same old crap.
I appreciate you bringing. No, it's fine. I appreciate you bringing this point up when you say, look, it doesn't matter what party it is, because Trigby and I were talking this morning before we went on the air, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but when I was working for Dale Schultz, when he was Senate Majority Leader, Republican Senate Majority Leader, back in 2005, going to be 20 years next year. I can't believe it. And the first bill that he put on the floor in the Senate was SB 1, Campaign Finance Reform. It was co-sponsored by Mike Ellis, the former Senate Majority Leader, conservative Republican from Neenah, and John Erpenbach, liberal from Dane County. A bipartisan campaign finance bill had almost 3/4 of the legislature as co-sponsors. On the floor vote, Dale brought home a majority of the Senate Republicans, and Democratic Governor of Wisconsin, Jim Doyle, twisted arms behind the scenes and killed it with a lack of Democratic votes because he didn't want Republicans to get the credit. So
that's exactly why people like Doyle should be gone. I don't care. I'll vote for a Republican that tells me they want to get money completely out of politics and lobbyists out of politics. I'll vote for a Republican that tells me they want to raise the corporate tax rate back to where FDR had it. I don't care about party. I care about policy. And the policy
I agree.
Is basically the morbidly rich. I mean, people made a bigger deal about or they made less of a deal about the guy that, the billionaire. Oh my God, the billionaire got, the millionaire got shot a couple of weeks ago. Oh, a poor guy. Now it's all,
well, there again,
demonize this kid. What about the kids? I'm so sick. I think we have a big lie in this country, and that is we care about our children, because I don't think we do.
Yeah. Appreciate the call, Tom. Appreciate the passion. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly from Mark in Perdisac. Mark, thanks for calling in. What say you?
Yeah, so many different thoughts here. I mean, it's interesting. One of my sporting magazines, I can't remember which one it was, that they're advertising 223 ammunition, and it was described, the abbreviation for it was TUI, tumble upon impact. And of course, in this case, it was a handgun that was used in this thing. But typically, I mean, why any citizen, ordinary citizen, needs tumble upon impact ammunition, that is just beyond me, because that's a military round used for killing the enemy. I mean, that something needs to be done. I mean, that were there warning signs here? I mean, that I can remember back in the day, back in the probably early 70s, when, you know, as a kid, I sent my $10 into the NRA to, you know, and the big thing for the NRA back then was to treat, you know, every gun that was loaded in safe storage.
Yeah.
And now it's, you need immediate access to your firearm just in case somebody goes breaking through your door, and it is just you go to the sporting goods store now, rather than the old kind of targets you used to see. You see, you know, targets with human beings portrayed, and you know, where you're trained to shoot center mass, and that it is just. I just am at a loss as to if anything is really going to happen, because people are crying for it now, and we're crying for it once again, and that and within a few weeks, you know, Christmas will pass us, and that it'll be forgotten, and we're never supposed to talk about this subject because, you know, first it's too soon, then it's too late. Well, we don't need to worry about that now. That event happened, so we don't need to think about it anymore. Well, when do we think about these things?
Yeah.
I mean, the time to think about it is when the iron is hot, I think, and that and try to go on from here, because that when they sell a firearm these days, everyone goes out with a lock.
Yeah.
At least ones I bought, you know, through the stores, and that and they should go out with those things installed, and that I don't know.
Appreciate the call, Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate the call. Trigby, look, we're both gun owners. I don't hunt as much as I used to. But again, when I was growing up, and my granddad had half a dozen, 8 firearms, he didn't have a lock on them, but he struck the fear of none of us grandkids would have ever touched a firearm without permission. It's just the way we were raised. I'm all for locks as well, but part of this is parenting. But again, we've had lots of calls talking about parenting, but then again, there is real mental illness. I'm not talking about feeling down. I'm talking about schizophrenia, bipolar, other things where unless they're diagnosed and medicated, you know, I don't know, Trigby. I'm just at a loss today, my friend.
Well, I mean, I think that's where people end up when these things happen, which is why I say we all have to take a look within ourselves. And, you know, we have to decide what we're going to be as a state, as a nation, as a community, and as individuals.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're hearing from the callers, right? Like, everybody can identify the problem, but no one wants to take the risk of saying, let's find something that works for all.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's in the political interest of the time we're in just to demagogue and create outrage.
When we come back, I want to get your take on, because a couple of callers have brought up the NRA and lobbyists, and again, we both but been around the cesspool of lobbying, and I want to get your take on that, specifically the NRA. Your phone calls as well, 855-752-4842. It is Tuesday, December 17th, with Trigby Olson, Todd, Allbaugh, Aaron Zombers, the Civic Media Radio Network.
Tell you one thing, we're better together.
92.7 WMDX.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Gerrymandering, the manipulation of voting district boundaries to engineer an election outcome which benefits a particular party, had a significant impact on control of the new Congress. A new report by the Brennan Center for Justice found over 4 of 5 congressional districts were won by a margin of over 10%, including 90% of the GOP House majority. Within that number, 132 GOP winners were in districts
what you said
with
about
winning margins of
parents and grandparents
25%
teaching
or
you about
more,
guns and hunting, that's something that was
112 by
very
a
valuable to
Democrat.
me as a
In
kid, for sure. Is
comparison,
as soon
only
as we were
37
like, we always saw Dad go out hunting as soon as we're old enough to be able to,
and only
like
19 districts
see
were
where the guns are
competitive
kept and
enough to flip.
everything, and maybe
The
figure
Brennan
out where the
Center
keys
points to
are. Like,
North
it's, okay, here's how they
Carolina as a
work.
state which, after a more
And
liberal Supreme
with the
Court
fear of
was
God in
flipped
you, like these
conservative in
things, you can never take back a shot out of a
replaced the
gun.
previous
No,
court's
we just
7-7 competitive
I,
maps
I'm not
with the
obviously not very good at putting words today, but when you're raised that way, there's a right and a wrong, and there is no gray area.
independent redistricting.
There can't be a gray area with things like guns.
Fairer and more competitive maps in California, Michigan, Utah, and a handful of other states. Brennan found that independent commissions, citizen-led or otherwise, drew only 82 congressional districts this cycle, but those districts were 3 times more competitive. We have the Brennan Center's report at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
Oh, the holidays are here, and it's time to pick a present from the grown-up gift list with Civic Media's
30 seconds.
statewide text-to-win contest. Listen while you work for the keywords.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead on the Civic Media Radio Network. 9 before the hour of 1 o'clock. Coming up at hour 2, our grown-up gift list text to win contest. Your chance today to win a $100 bill in hour 2. We'll tell you how to do that. Download the Civic Media app right now. We'll give you the text to win word in hour 2. Also, we'll do a What's Worse, and Trigby and I will reminisce on the Packers versus the Seahawks. Oh, what a night it was out there in beautiful. It was beautiful, by the way, in Seattle. We'll get to
You know,
that.
I'll be able to tell. There's a fight. The guy next to me, literally the
Yes.
drunk next to me, got beat. He was a Seahawk fan, got beat up by other Seahawk fans.
We'll get into that hour 2. I want to finish up trivia on this issue of the tragedy in Madison at the school here at Abundant Life Christian School. Number one, a quick answer on this. I had the dishonor and an unfortunate circumstance of once meeting Wayne LaPierre, the head of the NRA. And I've told this story in the air. I'm not going to tell the whole thing. It was the only time in my entire political career when I met someone and I actually felt like a physical reaction and like that person is just evil and just gross. And it was a weird, odd feeling. The NRA, LaPierre is out, but the NRA continues to be a strong political force, Trigby, in guns.
Yeah, I mean the NRA is a force. I think, you know, and the NRA has, you know, there's the laws of unintended consequences. I talk about it all the time. But the NRA, you know, LaPierre is out because of the lifestyle he was leading and how much money was going into it. And sort of to Tom's point, that created a whole environment, private airplanes and all kinds of stuff that went far beyond just protecting gun rights.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, what it really comes down to, right, is so many people are afraid. And you even see this in, you know, all the people owning guns and, you know, the self-protection thing, and I need, you know, all of that. We have to decide as a nation and as a state and as individuals, are we going to be a country where we live in fear of each other and allow politicians to make us afraid of each other? Or are we going to be a nation where we have faith in one another? And at the end of the day, for democracy to work and what made our country and our state great was a willingness to have faith in each other that we could work together to solve problems, not to be afraid of each other that we're going to try and dominate one another.
Yeah.
And until we come to that, and until we each take a hard look at all of the problems that we're facing, you don't solve them by imposing on everybody else. You solve them by having faith in each other to come to some common sense solutions.
I want to be
And that's
really
true.
Go ahead.
It's true with the gun issue. It's true with all these issues that we face.
I want to be really, really clear about this, and this is my opinion, not Trigvy's. I believe that the fault, if you will, I believe the real hurdle to getting meaningful gun reform is our former party, Trigg, the Republican Party, overwhelmingly. But I also just find it a bit rich and a bit sad that, as you said earlier, we have to decide what kind of country we want to have. And when we have Democrats having the opportunity to elect someone like Kamala Harris as president, and there is a faction, a small but important faction, that say, oh, but Gaza, oh, but Palestine, I can't vote for the lesser of two evils. When people decide to stay home or vote third party, elections have consequences. And again, I'm not blaming Vice President Harris's loss only on that segment of Democratic voters, but it didn't help. And then you wonder, I mean, we have an opportunity to have someone like Harris or other Democrats who could get meaningful gun reform, but oh no, I can't vote for the lesser of two evils. I'll give you the last 2 minutes. Minocqua Brewing Company, owned by this guy, Kirk Bangstad, who has a political PAC, big lefty, put out a t-shirt on the website. I have it right here in front of us. Said, we're gonna just leave this one right here. Viva la Resistencia, or whatever. Quote, in a world full of corrupt CEOs, be a Luigi, Minocqua Brewing Company. This guy puts out a t-shirt glorifying the murder of a father with a gun. And then has the audacity to put out another post today saying how terrible he feels about what happened here in Madison. The hypocrisy is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that hypocrisy becomes the grounds that the other side uses to erode and create fear of the intentions of the other side. And that's that, at the end of the day, that vilification and there are parents without kids, their kids today. There's parents today in Madison, Wisconsin, whose child not only is gone, but who took the lives of others. I can't imagine the pain. There are 2 boys in suburban Minneapolis whose dad was gunned down on the street. Like, I don't, this again, we all have to take a look and say, are we going to be people who have fear of each other or faith in one another? And quite frankly, that is where we're not solving any of these problems. And Todd, we can take it beyond just the issue of guns. You think about all the things in the state of Wisconsin that you alluded to, campaign finance reform, John Erkenbach and Mike Ellis on the same side, Tommy Thompson and Dale Schultz and Spencer Black, conservation and the Mississippi Partnership, the Wisconsin idea. And that requires having some faith in each other, and that's being eroded.
Trivy, appreciate you so much, my friend. We're going to try to turn a page here, do a little bit of fun things on the other side. Just the Todd Allbaugh Show. Hour 2 straight ahead, your chance to win $100. Download the Civic Media app right now, and we'll tell you how to do it. Back after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Thanks, Triggy. I thought that was.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome nationally syndicated.
I thought that was.
Yeah, I think that was good.
Yeah.
Comedian Greg Schwem and marketing director of the Marinette
Tough, I guess. Tough stuff, but.
To talk about the Steam concert.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8.
This is Gordy with John and Gordy in the morning on 92.7 WMDX. When you text into our show or
yeah, the most recent Kirk Bangstad stuff has been interesting.
Yeah.
Visit rocketindustrial.com, and we'll be watching out for your text.
Fear you may be
Hey, we
missing
got
out?
a WRCE.
Always
Thank you for calling
streaming
out Kirk
TuneIn
Bankstad
and the
on his
Civic
horrible
Media
T-shirt.
app.
That was
Enjoy
disgusting and
listening
revolting.
live
Yes,
or
it was.
Catch up by finding the podcast at civicmedia.us
Yeah, outrageous.
or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media
It's one thing to
radio
post
station
memes about it.
or the
It's one
Civic
thing to
Media
have
app.
a pack and sell T-shirts.
This
on
is
it. Like, that's
92.7
those are not the same thing.
WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. In Madison, Wisconsin, classes are canceled at the private Christian school where police say a 15-year-old female student opened fire yesterday, killing 2 and injuring 6 others. Police identifying the shooter as Natalie Rupnow and say she died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Speaking to young people at an event in Maryland today, Vice President Kamala Harris
And Tony on
weighing in
YouTube
about
agrees.
the tragedy.
As we hold our loved ones close this holiday season, we as a nation must renew our commitment to end the horror of gun violence, both mass shootings and everyday gun violence that touches so many communities in our nation.
A jury in San Francisco has found Nima Momini guilty of second-degree murder in the stabbing attack of Cash App founder Bob Lee, the tech consultant now facing 16 years to life for killing the tech mogul in April 2023. This is ABC News.
This is your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected locally across the Civic Media Network.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Authorities are moving on to next steps investigating yesterday's school shooting. A student and a teacher were killed at Abundant Life Christian School. 2 are fighting for their lives while 4 are recovering. The 911 call came in just before 11 a.m. Shots rang out during study hall where there were students from multiple grades. Police Chief Sean Barnes.
A second grade student called 911 to report a shooting had occurred at school. Don't let that soak in for a minute. Our 911 dispatch communicators are trained to talk to children, but it makes my heart skip a beat.
Barnes says the first officer was on scene within 3 minutes and ran inside 1 minute later. Paramedics quickly followed, and officials say their fast action saved lives. They confirmed the shooter was 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow, who went by the name Samantha. Officials have been talking with her family. With such a senseless tragedy, the big question is why? Police got a search warrant to look through her home, but they ended up not even needing it because her family has fully cooperated with the investigation.
How does any 15-year-old get a hold of a gun? You know, you get into the philosophical question about guns and gun safety, something that we all should be talking to our loved ones about. That's something that will be a part of this investigation. We are certainly speaking and talking with the parents who are cooperating to determine if they were gun owners and if they had guns. But at this time, again, we're still talking with them. It's been a long conversation, and we appreciate them.
Tonight, the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County is hosting a vigil at 6 o'clock at the state capitol. Madison schools went on as normal today, and Governor Tony Evers has ordered flags fly at half staff the rest of the week. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
The Badgers get a new quarterback. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Wisconsin Badgers lost their 2 quarterbacks to the transfer portal, Tyler Van Dyke and Braden
Mark, if
Mock.
you're listening
They
on
announced
the,
that San Diego State
on the
quarterback
stream,
Danny
that is
O'Neal
correct.
is coming to Madison. O'Neal started in 11 games as a true freshman, completing 63% of his passes for over 2,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. NFL, the Packers with an extra day off after beating the Seahawks in Seattle Sunday night. Head coach Matt LaFleur had these instructions for the players after the game.
Handle your body, handle your business. We got another primetime game at our house, a Monday night game against the New Orleans Saints. All right? Every game is critical, man, and we got to keep stacking these wins.
NBA, it's the Bucks and the Thunder tonight in the NBA Cup Finals in Las Vegas.
This cup, you know, I liked it last year as a broadcaster. I love it more as a coach. I think it's good for our league. You don't get to get this experience during a regular season.
That's the Bucks. Doc Rivers. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
We can play that
Mostly
that
cloudy or a
interview
touch
from
cooler today with
Tim
high
and
temperatures still
Beth.
reaching the mid-30s. Got a
Maybe
small shot
after
of
the
light
bottom of the
snow
hour.
pushing in this evening, continuing through the overnight and gone
Because
by
Bigby and I
tomorrow.
had lunch with them.
Accumulations look like less than an inch, and tomorrow leaves us with crashing
I will
temperatures. I'm meteorologist
grab
Brittany
that.
Merlot.
Thank you.
Right now, it's 34 degrees.
As a network, we're called Civic Media because a big part of it is we want to start modeling
Yes,
how
it's
civic
4
discourse
minutes
really
and
should
40
happen
seconds.
and being respectful
you.
of each other's opinions, even if you disagree. You know, like they should be given a platform.
If Rocker and I can get along, we can all get
I
along.
know, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
Rocker?
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy.
Well, you do have a wall in between the two of you, so
Glass.
it's like
It's only glass.
It's
LA Tom's
Tear
also
down the
commenting
walls.
that
Listen to Max
the
Inc.
vice
Saturday
president
night,
elect
6
is
to
saying,
midnight
that's just the
across
way it
the
is.
Civic
Yeah, right.
Media Radio Network.
Yeah, I hear you, Tom.
The
That's
John and
pretty
Gordy
sad.
Show. They drank coffee all day and into the night. Coffee and cigarettes. You know, the Winstons were going and blue haze in the house.
That's what we
the
did
way
for
it
fun.
was.
That-
Yep.
Before cell phones. You know, he said, well, you smoked, right? I said, yeah. But that's what we did with our hands at the time.
I want to get Twigby a little bit after the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
I want to spend a couple of minutes. Well, I guess we could do it tomorrow too, whichever you want. I want to talk about this whole thing about ABC and Stephanopoulos paying the $15 million.
Oh, we should do it today because I'm going to have a
20
hard
seconds.
time getting on tomorrow.
Okay,
I'm flying
sounds
out
good.
to Madison and I have a meeting that's at 2, and at
15
1
seconds.
I have a call
You
I
got
have
a
to be on.
You got a problem?
Yeah, well, I might be. I
No,
don't
you're
know,
supposed to
gotta
say
look.
I got a plane to catch.
Oh,
All right,
yeah,
5
you got
seconds.
a problem.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zomers on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock on the Civic Media Radio Network on this Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. It is a tough day to be a Wisconsinite, but we're hanging in there together. Trygve Olsen, normally with us on Wednesday, joins us from our nation's capital today. We appreciate him so much. Like myself, a former Republican. Like myself, a Wisconsin native. Not like myself, a senior advisor now at the Lincoln Project and a Green Bay Packer owner. He's back. How you doing, Trygve?
I'm good. You know, we could have coffee tomorrow morning, Todd. I'm flying out to Madison tonight and
do it.
there just
Yeah,
for the day. Yeah.
All right, let's do
we'll
it.
have to schedule that.
Trygve and I doing our calendar live on the air. That's fantastic.
Can I come along?
Sure. Come on
Yeah,
along. Come on
of
along.
course. My treat. I'll buy.
Oh, look at that. I want to get into this in a minute with you. Again, the game. Trygve and I were out there, and many thanks to Buckley's Pub on Queen Anne. Those guys were fantastic, guys and gals.
You know, and I found the other one. We walked right
did
by
you?
and checked out the other one too. Yeah, the one that's the Eagles Bar. It's great.
Yeah. So we went
those
to
people are awesome.
my godson Jason and his two buddies, Matt and Nick. We went to the Buckley's again on Queen Anne on game day. We went there and had a lunch and a couple of drinks. They were fantastic, by the way. And Tim, one of the owners, was there, and he goes, "I was just over at the other one, and it is hopping." He goes, "We didn't think it was going to be that busy." I said, "Isn't that an Eagles one?" And he goes, "Yeah, but the Packer fans took over today." So they had two Packer bars going on game day.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There were a lot of Packer fans in Seattle.
There were. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So
by the end of that game, Packer fans owned that stadium. And did you hear LaFleur comment on that?
I did not.
But how happy he was when the defense needed to stop, that he could hear "Go Pack Go."
Oh yeah. We were. We were. I mean, we were cheering as loud as. That's why my voice is a little scratchy today. But yeah, absolutely. All right, it is 8 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Time once again for Civic Media's Growing Up Gift List Text to Win contest. Let's go.
Look, Daddy! Teacher says, every time
gets his wings.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. It's the growing up, not the one you watch for the kids, the growing up gift list text to win contest. Your chance to win fabulous cash and prizes every day here on Civic Media between 7 try this again, Todd, 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. Jason, my youngest godson, who I hung out with in Seattle this weekend, he wanted to watch that. So we watched A Wonderful Life on Saturday night. It was great.
It always makes me cry. We watched it last night, Ula and I.
Did you?
I always cry at the end.
It's a great movie. All right, so here's how this works. Download the Civic Media app. How do you do that? Go to your app store on your Android or Apple device. Type in the search bar Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media, M-I-D-I-A.
M-E-D-I-A, yes.
M-E-D-I-A, thank you. So make sure you spell it right, for goodness sake. Be a better speller than Todd. It'll pop up. Download it. It's free. Takes less than a minute. It's what CBS's Gail King calls a deal. And then open it up like I just did on my cell phone, my smartphone. The first 11 stations on the Civic Media app are the news talkers that our show is on. Choose the one closest to you. If one doesn't happen to be close to you, it's okay. Choose. The first one is Waukesha, WAUK, Milwaukee. The second one is Madison, WMDX, and so forth. Choose one. Doesn't matter. And then you'll open that, and then it'll say text in the lower right-hand corner. It says text, T-E-X-T, text, with a little bubble icon. Click on that. Now you're all set to go. For this, by the way, the attorneys are back out in the hall for a statewide contest. You have a lot of attorneys you have to work with, Trevi. They're sticklers. I have to say that every day. Statewide contest. So now you're all set. And I'm going to give you the word of the day. You're going to type it in. Make sure you type it exactly right because the computer chooses the winners to make sure there's no hanky-panky going on. And if it doesn't spell right, the computer won't recognize it. And you're going to text the following word because somebody this hour is going to win a crisp $100 bill. The word this hour is list. List. L-I-S-T. L-I-S as in Sam, T as in Todd. List. Santa is checking his list, making his list and checking it twice. List is the word this hour. Somebody's going to win $100. The other hourly prize, of course, is an overnight getaway to beautiful Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. Looking at a place to take your significant other or your mother, but not together. Go to Chula Vista Resort. Everybody can win. It's a family event, indoor water park. They have a great buffet, great restaurant, bar. In the summertime, a golf course. It's great. Chula Vista. But this hour, it's cold, hard Benjamin Franklin cash. $100. The word is list. L-I-S-T.
And, even if you don't win this hour, you're still entered to win one of 8 grand prizes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Zommer.
I just entered, Todd.
Fantastic. You're not an employee, so you're eligible to win.
I am. I'm a volunteer.
Yes, you are a volunteer. And so, as Zommer said, 8 grand prize winners will be chosen at the end of this week. And everybody qualifies that enters.
I'm going to Chula Vista, baby.
Absolutely. The grand prizes include not 1, but 2 robot vacuums. Trigvy's his name, Cookie. A humidifier, an espresso machine, 2 espresso machines, 2 sets of luggage, and also Hot Frosty's best friend. What is it, Trigby?
I don't know. What is it?
A snowblower.
Oh, yeah, a snowblower. I don't need a snowblower, but I could go for the luggage.
Right. That was Trigby's line on Friday. Hot Frosty.
That was a pretty good one.
The movie that Zommer
Well, you
saw.
said Olaf.
No. My line was, how do you know why is Frosty smiling? Because he sees the snowblower coming down the street. That's an old joke.
I like Hot Frosty is the movie that Zommer saw.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are your great prizes. All you have to do is text in the word list, L-I-S-T, list. Now, you're going to get, they call it a bounce back text to let you know we got it. And then on there, there'll be something else to click on to register for, like Civic Media Wise. If you do that, guess what? We're going to give you a bonus entry. So it's twice as nice. Now, if you've blocked us, you don't have to unblock us to get that, by the way.
I believe the bonus entries this time around, in previous, we had a big election this year, so it was register to vote. This time, I believe it's stuff like follow Civic Media on YouTube, which, if you're not already doing that, easy to do.
Absolutely. Contest winners, both hourly and the grand prize winner, will be contacted by Civic Media within 5 business days. Ed McMahon's godson will appear at your door with balloons and declare that you're a winner.
Yes. Todd, I'm looking at this right now. If I subscribe to your newsletter, I get an additional time that I can put in the word list.
No,
then if
I
follow the Todd Allbaugh show on Apple Music, I get another shot at it.
Look at that.
Spotify and YouTube.
Look at
Dragon
that.
Waukesha texts in, if Trigby wins, he can buy us all coffee.
Yes.
I would be happy to do that. In fact, if I win, maybe we'll go to that great place with the cheese curds, the old fashioned, and get some cheese curds and adult beverages.
Absolutely. Well, it is.
On me.
That'd be perfect because it's growing up giftless text to win contest.
Yeah.
It's only for the adults. Text in the word list, L-I-S-T. L-I-S-T. Let's see here. Andrew made Todd's keyword goes along with Jane's keyword earlier quite well. Now, no wonder she said today's keywords were picked by Todd. I didn't hear her say that. I'm not going to repeat her keyword because that will mess people up. So we're just going to say ours. List.
No, because our word is list. L-I-S-T.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who couldn't use $100 Trigby right now during the holidays? Everybody.
$100 or a dream vacation in the Dells.
Right. But
that could be a song.
It is.
That is.
Cue the Gear Daddies.
Yeah, Dream Vacation in the Dells. We played it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it.
We did when you were getting on the duck boat, Todd.
Oh, that's right. But thank you. What a segue. See, Trigby's becoming an old pro here hosting. By the way, during Christmas week on the 26th and 27th, we are going to replay, and Zommers is working hard on this to put it together. It's the Year in Review. What makes Wisconsin great? Todd and Trigby's tour, the Year in Review. What Zommers is doing is compiling the best of Trigby and I's interviews from around the state on our What Makes Wisconsin Great tour, including the duck boats. And we're going to replay those on the 26th and 27th. So if you didn't hear it before during the year, you can hear Trigby and I talk to some people like Jim Smith, the chancellor up there at beautiful Eau Claire, Trigby's alma mater, the duck boat guys and gals. It's going to be great, the 26th and 27th.
There was a lot of great stuff in those tours, and they happened throughout the whole year. So if you missed any, you'll want to tune in.
Right?
I think we got to do some next year, Todd.
We'll put our heads together. Yeah. By the way, with wrapping things up in Seattle, our touring for the calendar year 2024 has come to an end. So now we have to look forward.
And
to
you know
2025.
what? I'll have to tell the listeners about what happened in Seattle with the flight. My kids think that that was the coolest thing they ever saw.
A fight.
Well, it was a drunk guy he paid a price.
All right, we'll come back and talk about that. Do we have time, Zommers, to open up the thing here for?
No, we have 1 minute.
All right, all right, we'll come back and we'll also do what's worse, and Trigby will tell his story. We'll talk about our time out on the West Coast here over the weekend, seeing the Green Bay Packers, who got a fantastic win. And the
Edgerton
weather,
Cooper, baby.
Right?
That guy, he's legit.
And the weather could not have been nicer. There was no rain during the game. It wasn't really cold. The wind calmed down. It was beautiful.
And
Quite
as
opposite
you
to the other
know,
one you went to.
17th Stadium, they have the best food at Lumen Field of any concessions I've seen. Yeah,
I think all
Clam
I have is
chowder, nachos
that.
is phenomenal.
I just had a pretzel and a beer, which was fine. Come on back. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show with Trigby Olson and Zommers for a Tuesday. Text the word LIST, L-I-S-T, right now to the Civic Media app. Oh, Oh, Nancy B. Fox. No, Nancy B. in Fox Crossing, Wisconsin, listening on 98.3 Oshkosh. Very good.
That's just responding to the text they get back.
Oh, okay.
If it's the first time they've texted, it'll be like, hey, thanks for texting in. What's your name? Where you from?
Nancy B. Like Aunt B.
Thanks for listening, Nancy B. How about the longtime listener coming and having lunch with us? That was awesome.
We're gonna play that. I interviewed him after you guys left. We're gonna play that after the bottom of the hour.
Oh, I have to cut out for the last segment.
Oh, maybe. All right. Yeah, that's great. Not great, but thanks for reminding me, because we'll save that. We'll end the show with that interview. That'll be good.
Okay. What time do you want to meet tomorrow? I'm at the concourse.
You name it. I can be there. I don't think I have anything going on.
Whatever works for you. We could go to the Old Fashioned and have lunch before the show. I don't know what time they open.
Okay.
I just have to do this call at noon. Then I have a meeting at 1 or 2.
They open at
Maybe
11.
I'll be able to come over there in between. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm all confused on time zones, Todd.
I get it.
They open an hour before the show. The Old Fashioned does.
There you go. Well, you get a couple Old Fashions in Todd, and he'll be in rare form.
That's very true. I had an Old Fashioned at Buckley's.
How was it?
It was really good, actually, because they were kind enough to make it with brandy.
Do they have Corbel?
Yeah.
They did not.
Unfortunate.
They used Hennessy.
So they used something better.
Yeah.
Higher quality. I don't know. 20 seconds.
Tell all the people across the USA, I love my Green Bay Packers, who won the first Super Bowls ever played. I love my Green Bay Packers.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 past the hour of 1 o'clock on Tuesday, December 17th. Zombers on the board, Trigby Olson in our nation's capital, senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, and also an owner of the aforesaid Green Bay Packers. Packers got a big win in Seattle, 30-13. It was fantastic. Trigby's going to tell a story, but first of all, let's open the old What's Worse. Here we go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this,
Time
or you
once
can
again
get with
to
that.
give us your opinion. Unlike the text to win contest where $100 is up this hour, all you have to do there is text the word LIST, L-I-S-T. Text LIST right now. Somebody this hour who texts in the word LIST on the Civic Media app is going to win $100. But right now, this is only your chance to have your opinion heard across Wisconsin or around the world on the Civic Media app. And this is timely. We'll see if Trigby encountered any of this out in Seattle. What's worse, cash less or cash only? What's worse, cash less or cash only? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or you can text us as well. What's worse, cash less or cash only? Trigby, your opinion.
Cash only. I don't ever carry cash anymore.
I know. But for a business owner, a lot of particularly small bars, they don't like all the fees that some of these credit cards. I mean, it could be like 3 or 4% that business owners are having to pay out on these credit cards. That's why they go cash only. But
yeah, I agree for the most part, where I don't really carry a lot of cash, so I think cash only is worse. But there are some places like Crystal Corner in Madison is cash only, and their drinks are cheap because they've owned the building for ages, and they go through enough alcohol that they have really good deals with distributors, and it's cash only, so they can keep the prices low and still make a profit.
There you go. What's worse, cash less or cash only? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. All right, Trigby and I were out. We did the show on Friday from Buckley's on Queen Anne. Again, a spectacular bar. Get out there. It's a Packer bar. If you're ever in the Seattle area, check them out. And then Sunday we went to the game, and Travy was there with his two lovely daughters, Kaya and Ula, who were fantastic on the show on Friday. And Travy, we did not see. Here's the deal. I got there with my godson, Jason, and one of my godsons, and his two buddies. And I text Trigby, I don't know, an hour and a half before the game. I said, are you outside or inside? And the last thing I hear from Trigby is, we're inside. Not like, we're here, come find us. It was like, no, we're good. We're inside. I'll see you on the show on Tuesday. But apparently there was an altercation.
Well, so I should frame it up. So on Saturday night, we had gotten together with some friends of mine, a dear friend of mine and her husband and family, who've lived in Seattle for a long time. She's from Brookfield, and we've known each other since high school. And her husband was telling me, he's from Wisconsin too, that Seattle fans not usually very friendly and a lot of drunks. And we did not see that. Now, Ula and I like to get to the game, and Kaya we go in and watch warm-ups and check the stadium out because we're going to all these stadiums and whatever. But anyway, so the two seats next to us are empty when the game starts. And then this guy who's totally sober and a guy who's completely drunk show up. And it turns out, yeah, and I'm pretty good with the drunk guys, so I'm kind of talking him up, and when Kaya went walking by, he's like, wow, that's a hottie. And then he's like, oh my God, is that your daughter? I'm like, yeah, she's 13, dude. So this guy is blotto drunk, and he's giving the finger, and he's swearing, and you just knew this wasn't going to end well.
Seahawk fan.
Yeah, Seahawk fan. Yeah. And so there's two couples sitting in front of him, and all of a sudden he's spilling his beer on top of them, and words are exchanged, and then they switch, and the other guy comes over who's a big guy, military guy, and he starts talking to him, and the guy bends over and tries to headbutt him.
Oh my God.
And the guy just takes him, flips him, throws him down 2 rows, and is going to tear him apart. And now the guy is upside down in between the rows, and this guy's going after him, and I'm grabbing the guy in front going, don't do it. Like, he's going to get kicked out.
Right.
Then the police show up, and they're going to haul them both out, and everybody in the stands is like, no, don't throw this guy out. He's not at fault. Throw that guy out. So the guy, not only he got hauled off to jail. There's apparently a jail and a courthouse in the stadium.
I've heard that, yes.
His cousin admits to us that his dad had said that he had to take the guy to the game and he doesn't want to leave the game. And then he gets a phone call that he has to go bail the guy out of jail. And the best part of the entire thing is when the guy was really drunk, he told me that he had bet $2,000 that Jordan Love would throw for 250 yards. Jordan Love only threw for 238 yards, and everybody was just laughing because we're like, that guy had a really bad day. He lost $2,000, had to go to jail, had to get bailed out. His cousin's never going to speak to him again, and he got his butt whooped.
And that's how the day went for the Seahawks.
And my daughters thought that was the most awesome thing watching it.
It's like
and they were and because of the age they are, they're like, I can't believe I didn't get that on video. I would have been a social media influencer.
It's like a live version of WWF.
Right, yeah, they immediately started texting all their friends, like, and they were like, Dad, why didn't you do something? I'm like, he didn't spill beer on me.
Right?
Yeah, I was trying to talk the guy down. I was like, dude, you really need to sit down. It's like not going to be good.
You are good with like really drunk people. Like you're a calming. Well, I mean, you worked on Capitol Hill. You're with a lot of Republican senators. So,
I don't know that it's those experiences, but yeah, I was trying to get the guy. Like, yep.
Yeah. Tony, listening in or watching on YouTube, says, obviously, a Seahawks fan, Packer fans can hold their drinks better than that. You're absolutely right.
100%. 100%. Not the kind of thing that you'd have seen at Lambeau Field. I think that's what my kids really liked about it.
We had great seats. Jason's buddy Matt got the seats. We were almost at the 50-yard line, kind of at the balcony, but the tickets after him said SR. We found out that meant standing room. Our tickets were standing, but you know what? They were great seats, so I actually didn't complain. So
I couldn't see the drones where we were, unfortunately.
Oh, really? It was a great drone show. All right, come on back. We'll wrap things up with Trigby here. Your phone calls as well, right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I love my Green Bay Packers.
Conversation 92.7.
Yeah, they were all like kind of between the 45 and 50.
Complete Civic Media
and like that, I would say like 4 or 5 rows, the balcony or the first row you call that, and then our seats were right against the cement behind that on the walkway. So you had some people walk in front of you, but I mean it was a great view, and we saw the drone show, and
I'm sure it was cheaper.
Yeah, it was. Well, they were a little pricey, but
I mean it's going to be pricey no matter what.
It was probably cheaper than actual seats.
Right.
I thought that stadium was awesome.
It was so loud. I couldn't believe how. Well, let's save that. I want this discussion to go on the air, so we'll come back and talk about it.
SUSO is our Speak Up, Speak Out Wisconsin tip
I gotta
line
travel
where people
more.
can report concerns. We have seen an increase in planned school attack tips. Often after an incident such as that happened here in Madison, people start to think about, I should have reported this. I have knowledge that someone could be planning a school attack, and they need to have a place to report that. So we encourage the community at large, students and families, to report to SUSO or their local law enforcement or local school officials if they have concerns that somebody is planning a school attack.
Before the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School, there had been a threat to the Green Bay Area School District. They believed it was not credible, but they still had extra police at their schools yesterday. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes.
Anyone who makes a call or threat to a school, we will investigate that. And if you're found to be the person to make that call, you will be arrested.
The Office of School Safety has all kinds of resources available to Wisconsin schools. Public, private, doesn't matter. They have guidance on what to do if parents or staff are worried about a student, how to talk to kids about making false threats. And actually, the majority of the tips they get are to report bullying. That Speak Up, Speak Out tip line within the Wisconsin Department of Justice has gotten more than 350 tips since it began in 2020. You can
bullying
submit one
thing,
online, or you can call
just
their
wonder
hotline.
if that's
Officials
what
say never brush off a
part of
potential
this whole
threat.
thing.
For
very
92.7
well be part of it.
WMDX
I don't
News,
know.
I'm Savannah Tomei Olsen.
That's why I'm just trying to be careful of not
On
getting
your
this up
entertainment
further
feed, I'm
on the
Pete
air
Schwaba.
until we
Lisa
know some
Kudrow
things
is
for
not
sure.
a fan of
Because then
AI,
you
and
just
let
go down
Tom
rabbit
Hanks
holes.
know
And,
about
well,
it.
see,
Kudrow
this is the
appeared on the
problem.
Armchair
And we don't
Expert
know that
podcast
yet.
and
So,
referenced Hanks' recent film Here, in which AI helped depict Hanks and co-star Robin Wright over the course of several decades. Kudrow criticized Hanks and director Robert Zemeckis, saying it could affect the need for actors and that it was an endorsement for AI, adding that it might not ruin everything, but you will basically just be licensing actors' images and not letting them actually act. There is a new teaser trailer for White Lotus Season 3. The third installment of the show will be set in Thailand. Mike White returns as the show's creator and will also direct the season as he did the previous two. Season 3 stars Carrie Coons, Leslie Bibb, Parker Posey, and Walton Goggins. Season 2 won the Emmy for Best Drama Series. Season 3 drops February 16th on HBO. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and a touch cooler today with high temperatures still reaching the mid-30s. Got a small shot of light snow pushing in this evening, continuing through the overnight and gone by tomorrow. Accumulations look like less than an inch, and tomorrow leaves us with crashing temperatures. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now,
It's going to be cold out there.
Yeah, it's chilly.
Season is back, and
Yeah.
Gabriel
It
the
ain't
Promoter
Seattle.
is ready to help you get the party started. Celebrate in style by booking a $100 round-trip party bus shuttle from Madison to Lambeau Field, complete with all-you-can-drink Miller
It's
Lite.
35
Tickets to the
right
game
now.
are not included. Don't miss out on the
Tomorrow's going to
ultimate
high
green
of
and gold
30.
experience. Book
Thursday,
your
a high
now.
of
Brought to
29
you by
and snow.
Gabriel Promotes and
I'm not
sponsored
going to
by
be around
Baldwin
for
Street Grill.
Thursday,
Call
Todd.
Gabriel
I'm getting
today,
out of Dodge.
414-944-1704 while spots are still available.
Welcome to Staples.
Help! My family's in for the holidays and I need gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect! Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but
About
the guy
30
is never
seconds.
Thank you.
quiet.
Noise-canceling headphones. for you.
You get it.
Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples. And right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 12/28, in-store only.
Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, Wisconsin Senator
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock on Tuesday, December 17th. Zommers on the board. Trygve Olson, Senior Advisor at the Lincoln Project and Green Bay Packer owner, joins us from our nation's capital via StreamYard. We are smack dab in the middle of a couple of things. I want to sort it out for you. First of all, somebody this hour, in less than a half an hour, somebody will win $100. You say, Todd, I want in on that deal. I say, hey, you, here's your chance to do so. Download the Civic Media app if you haven't got it for free. Then open it up, go to one of the first 11 stations, click on it. Lower right-hand corner, it'll say text. Click on the word text. And now you're all set. You're going to text the following word right now. The word is list, L-I-S-T. L-I-S-T, as in Santa is checking or making his list and checking it twice. List right now on the Civic Media app. You'll also be entered in. Somebody's going to win $100 this hour. And then everybody gets entered in for one of our 8 grand prizes, including a robot vacuum. There's 2 of those, a humidifier, 2 espresso machines, 2 luggage sets, and a snowblower. Every time I read this, it reminds me of the old James J. Watt line in the Reagan administration. Remember when he got fired for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, a point of clarification. Somebody texted in, I don't know if they were joking or not, asking, well, I only need 1 espresso machine. There's 2 available.
Right.
You only get 1.
Thank you. Thank you, Zommers. Yes. Because what the Zommers has been so good at pointing this out before, it goes in no particular order. If you're the first grand prize winner, you're going to get the choice of any one of those. And then the next person gets a choice, the next person, until you get down to unfortunately, the last person gets the grand prize that's left. But they're all spectacular grand prizes. So nobody's a loser on the grand prize. So text the word list, L-I-S-T, right now. Also asking the what's worse question this hour. What's worse, cashless or cash only? Had a couple of entries here. Let's see if I can find them on mine for the cashless or cash only. Let's see. So we have somebody text for the text to win. I'm trying to find them.
Well, for one, LA Tom, I had mentioned the bar in Madison, Crystal Corner before, and how they're cash only. LA Tom mentions they should get Venmo. And maybe they have it, maybe they don't. I don't know. But that, for those who don't know, it's an app you can use to pay people things. That might be a good solution.
As my granddad used to say, it's slick as snot and a brass doorknob.
And
Venmo is.
Jim, listening on WGBW in Appleton, says cashless is worse. I've lost count of the new debit cards I've had to get because of fraud, skimmers, keystroke readers, and other forms of electronic identity theft.
True, right? Yeah, that's. I mean, as my good friend Florsey likes to say, cash is king. If you got cash, most of the time you'll be okay. All right, Trygve, back to the and again, Trygve and I were out at Seattle for the big Packers Seattle game. Let's talk a little bit about this venue, Lumen Field. It's, for those who don't know, it's kind of shaped like a football on its side. So the both sides kind of have this arch to make it look like a football, and the seats go way up high. And so the field is kind of down in a gully or a valley. And Trygve, you and I were at, thanks to your generosity and kindness, you and I were at the Lions Green Bay game about a month and a half ago, and that rain fest. And I love Lambeau Field, nothing like it in the world. But sitting there and comparing that to Lumen Field, 2 things. A, I felt Lumen Field was much louder. And B, could it be that there are so many now suites and skyboxes at Lambeau that so many people behind glass, and even when they're screaming, that cuts down in the volume?
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind of think they were pumping sound in. So I think it's a little bit
Really?
like U.S.
Is that
Bank
legal?
Stadium. Those purple people, they pump sound in.
Well, they have that horn.
Yeah,
Doo-doo,
I think it
doo-doo.
is.
It sounds like the Grinch horn, by the way. You know, at the
Oh,
end of the movie,
God.
The Grinch Stole Christmas. You know, the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes that day. Dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, and Max and
I
the
know,
sled
and
come
then they
down.
sit there and
That's the
chant.
sound effect for the Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do that thing, skull, skull,
Right.
skull. Troy Aikman was saying it's one of the best traditions in sports. I was like, give me a break.
I think the Lambeau Leap
Jump
is better.
around is one of the best traditions in
Yes.
sports. Those purple people.
All of our listeners, the Viking fans, have clicked us off, but that's okay.
Nah, they
we
can
love them
call
anyway.
in anytime they want, debate the merits. By the way, Todd, do you know what U.S. Bank, I gave this joke before, you know what U.S. Bank Stadium and the Mall of America have in common?
What, Trigby?
Same number of Lombardi trophies.
Da, 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 da. All right, so back to Seattle. I was all I had at the stadium was a beer and a soft pretzel. It was fine. I did not partake of all this food you speak of, but I was impressed. I thought that people that were fairly nice. Again, on the plane out, I flew Madison, Twin Cities to. This is a true story. I'm not sure if I told you this. That we were coming out. I was by myself on the plane. And all these, I would say there were, I don't know, 20, 25 people in Packer gear in Minneapolis to Seattle. And one guy comes on with a Viking hoodie. And the flight attendant's just trying to have fun, you understand? And she says, I bet you're not going out for the Green Bay game, are you? And he shot daggers at this poor woman and goes, what do you think? No. And everybody around him laughs.
You know what's awesome is when we were walking out of the stadium, so there's all these Packer fans. And when the Packers win, there's so many Packer fans at these away games, everybody chants go Pack go. So, and everybody's walking back up into the city, right? And all of a sudden somebody starts chanting the Bears still suck.
Yes.
And next thing you know, everybody's chanting that. And I'm like,
Yes.
that's awesome.
We were walking down to exit after the game, and so many Seattle people were leaving early, and you know, like you say, the Packers fans all stayed, and so we were walking out of the stadium after the game, and there were just chants erupted: either "Go Pack, go," or "The Bears still suck."
Yeah, and down in our end zone is where the Packers were coming in and out. We were kind of over on that side, so we hung around when they were coming off the field. It's amazing, you know, everybody's chanting go Pack go. There are hundreds and hundreds of Packer fans there, and like the Packers are stopping, giving people high fives. Like you could tell they kind of appreciated the fact that you had all those fans there. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's a
here
real
we
love
are.
affair between the Packers and their fans.
It is, and again, my youngest godson works for the Puget Sound Naval Yard there in Bremerton. For those that don't know, it's about an hour-long ferry ride across the Sound to the west of Seattle, where he lives. And there were so many. I mean, that ferry holds a lot of people. It probably holds, I don't know, 300 people. And I bet you there were at least 50 or 75 people in Packers gear. And I asked, I asked Jason, his buddy, I said, do you think those are visitors or the people that live out here that are Packer fans? They're like, we're pretty sure they live out here. They're just Packer fans that live out here.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I think sometimes Wisconsin people don't fully get is when you travel around to all these places, you know, the Brett Favre era and then the Aaron Rodgers era led to a lot of people growing up and becoming Packer fans in the same way that, you know, like people became Pittsburgh Steelers fans or Cowboys fans if they're our age. Because the Packers were, you know, they're a proud and really good franchise, unlike some of these others, like the New York Jets or the Minnesota Vikings or the Chicago Bears, that are kind of sad and pathetic franchises.
Yeah, my buddy Nelson out in LA. I mean, his son is 14 now, and he is a diehard Packer fan because he grew up watching Aaron Rodgers. And, you know, he's a proud Angelino out in LA, but he's a Packer fan. Let's talk a second
I'm glad
about.
We're rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
He's
well,
got a
you and me.
documentary coming out on Netflix.
It's
apparently.
out. It's out.
Oh, is it? I haven't watched it.
It's odd. I haven't seen it, but I've seen some of the.
You know what
clips.
I watched though? I was thinking of Zommers while I watched this the other night.
that?
Is the Yacht Rock rockumentary.
Yeah, I want to
so
watch
good.
it.
Really?
So good. Yeah, it's really good.
Pat Kreitler recommended it. It's on Netflix, I believe.
It's really good.
So.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, something like that.
Well, there you go. A movie recommendation. Pete Schwaba would like that on Nightlight tonight at 6:00. Let's talk. Speaking of other Civic Media staff, how great is Mike Clemens, our sports reporter, getting it done, following Coach LaFleur, getting player interviews, and let's talk a little seriousness for a second. Besides all the fun, Trigby, this was a huge win for the Packers. It secured a playoff spot, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
It's 99.6% or something.
Right. And I think it's just a shot of adrenaline. I think being on the road, picking up this win, I just think it's a great momentum builder. I think last I saw the line was like they're favored by like 15 against the Saints on Monday Night Football coming up on Monday. And I think this puts them in a really good position. What say you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and the Lions now just lost Montgomery, so they lost one of their two running backs. I really think, it really seems plausible to me you could end up with the Vikings playing the Packers at US Bank for the NFC Championship, which would be lit.
Right? Can you imagine?
Lit. Yeah. I'm guessing the price of admission might be too rich for me to go to that, but I don't know.
It was too rich it was too pricey for Trigby. It's pricey.
Well, yeah, I keep thinking, who do I know but no Viking fan would sell me tickets anyway for a reasonable
After all the
amount.
smack you've talked about them on this show, no, not at all.
Well, yeah, you should on Facebook. I'm just brutal. Every time they lose in the playoffs, I put #Skull up.
But it was So looking at the playoffs here, again, Detroit right now is secure to the division, but to those injuries they've got going on, Trigby, they don't have much of a defense right now, and it's plausible that the Vikings could catch them for the division.
They could catch them, and then the other factor in all of that is that Washington is going to probably have to play Philly, and I don't see them beating Philly. The Packers will end up probably with Tampa, and
that's doable.
And that's doable. Vikings should beat the Rams. So then you're looking at the Packers versus Detroit, but it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year is, like an old saying. And then the Lions are beat up. I think the Packers would have a better shot of going into Detroit and beating Detroit than Minnesota would have going into Philly. Philly's a hard place to play. And it would be cold and gross, and they still have Sam Darnold. Honestly, if the Packers aren't going to win the Super Bowl, all I really care about is the Vikings not. In fact, I might get as equal enjoyment from Packer victories as I do from Viking losses.
Come on now, Trigby.
No, it's true.
I know. You can hear the game, by the way, coming up on Monday Night Football right here on select stations across Civic Media. As David Letterman likes to say, I hope that one of your stations has been selected. 5 p.m. broadcast start time for the pregame show on WRCO in Richland Center, the old home station, WCQM up in beautiful Park Falls, and WRJN down in Racine in Kenosha. That coming up on Monday Night Football. New Orleans Saints travel to your Green Bay Packers.
Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers playing the Little Sisters of the Poor from New Orleans.
Speaking of
Jordan Love on fire, going deep to Christian Watson.
Tracy's had a couple of brandy old fashions here.
I love doing Howard Cosell as
I know you do. It's fantastic. Matt in Richland Center, our UPS driver. Speaking of, how about those UPS drivers and FedEx people delivering all those packing to Amazon people? God love you. But Matt in Richland Center says, Trigby is the devil. Skull. Matt, a huge fan of the show, but clearly a Viking fan.
He should come to Lambeau Field and see what a Lombardi trophy looks like. We've got 4 of them. He won't have to wait in line so long.
talking a lot of smack. Patrick in the 608 listening to him. Madison says, does Trig want to make a bet on Vikes versus the Packers? Go Vikings.
I'd be happy to do that. You know what? We can, honestly, if he's in Madison, if the Vikings win the Super Bowl, I'll buy him beer and curds at the old fashioned.
Shout out from Todd and Oshkosh to UPS as well. Trivy, thanks for being here on a tough day, my friend. Really appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Yep.
Stay tuned. Our interview with Packer fans on the other side.
All right, I got to roll. See ya.
Thanks. Yep. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Little Swamico takes this moment to remember all of our fallen heroes, the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, their sacrifice and enduring commitment. To all those who gave their last full measure of devotion for our liberty, our values, and our democracy, we thank you, we remember you, and we honor you. This message comes to you from Comfort Pro Insulators in Little Swamico. That's Comfort Pro Insulators in Little Swamico. They have been serving the community since 1997, and they're saluting those who make our country stronger.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Big news in Wisconsin this month, as much of the controversial anti-union Act 10 law was struck down in a ruling by Dane County Circuit Court Judge Jacob Frost. Two takeaways on this. One, the ruling gets at the heart of what has always made this law so brazenly political, by defining public safety employees differently from general public employees. That decision was pretty clearly made not based on across-the-board policy, but on which unions backed Scott Walker for governor in 2010. It would be fitting if that is what ultimately spells the end for this controversial law. Secondly, this case is headed to an appeal, which almost certainly will end up at the Wisconsin Supreme Court. While this case still might be decided by the court's current 4-3 liberal majority, it's a good reminder of just how important the upcoming race for state Supreme Court will be.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area and on our website at civicmedia.us. The holidays are here, and it's nearly time to pick a present from our grown-up gift list with our Civic Media statewide Text to Win contest. Listen while you work for the keywords to text for your chance to win.
Welcome back to the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. Coming up at the top of the hour, CBS or ABC News, depending upon which station you are listening to across Civic Media. A sports update with our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, weather update as well. And then we are into the Maggie Dawn show with host Maggie Dawn every afternoon from 2 until 4. Dom Selvia from 4 until 6. Pete Schwaba and Nightlight from 6 until 8. And then Rick Smith across America and Native Roots Radio with Robert Pilot. A great lineup once again. I misread that. Todd and Oshkosh before the break on WISS says, don't forget to shout out the USPS, United States Postal Service. Absolutely. Along with our UPS and our FedEx, our Amazon, all of our carriers who are having to do yo person's work this time of year to get the packages delivered. Also, don't forget that we are right smack dab in the middle of our Text to Win contest. Somebody in the next 8 minutes is going to win $100. It could be you. Text the word LIST, 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 right now to the Civic Media app. Download it at your Apple or Android device for free, and then go to the first 11 stations, one of them, click on it, then click on text, and text the word LIST, 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 right now. Somebody from that entry is going to win $100 this hour. Again, thanks for Tracy Olson for being with us today. While we were out there, we caught up with a couple of Packer fans. They were listening on the Civic Media app via WGBW in Green Bay. Tim and Beth, while we sat and had lunch with them at Buckley's in Queen Anne, we asked them a few questions. Here's that interview from Friday with Packer fans, Tim and Beth. We're here at Buckley's on Queen Anne. This show is wrapped, and here's the advantage of the Civic Media app. We have our friends, new friends, Beth and Tim, who are listeners on WGBW. We're here listening to the app, and we ran into you guys. You said you were going to come over, and we just had a lovely time sitting and chatting. And Beth and Tim, thanks for stopping by for a second and chatting. So what brought you out here?
The Packer game, of course. We would like to travel and see the Packers play different road games. And so when they were playing Seattle, it's been kind of a dream of ours to head out here. So we bought the tickets literally the day that the schedule was out. So
and lots of rain gear. We bought that too. Yeah, because
I did the same.
Yeah. You can see why outside right now, but I'm sure your listeners obviously can't see that. Not a good thing for radio.
No, it's true, but it's a little damp out here, but such is life up here in the Northwest. How many places have you gone so far outside of Lambeau to watch the Packers?
Well, we went to New York, we went to Arizona,
Indianapolis,
Minnesota. I think that might be it.
Yeah, we haven't been to Chicago yet.
No, yeah, I think that's it. We haven't been down to Chicago because why would we go to Chicago?
I get that. Well, it's a great atmosphere, and we've run into other people as they've been out here so far. And tell folks just a little bit about what it's like being a Packer fan on the road.
Well, it's amazing because they're everywhere. And we're literally in the hotel. We get in the elevator, and there are these two young people in Packer gear. We were high-fiving at the baggage claim yesterday at the airport. And, I mean, we've literally taken over. And when we went to Manhattan, we took over Manhattan back in the day. I mean, we were, everyone was like, why is there so much green going around? Because they're not all football fans.
Right.
And we're like, Packer game, duh,
And I think another thing about that is everybody's so nice. We're wearing Packer gear. My wife's wearing Packer gear right now. When we went to New York, Giants fans had a reputation. We got on the train out to New Jersey to watch them play, and everybody was just, oh, you guys are going to kick our butt today and, have fun. And we have yet, except Minnesota. But that's another story. We've yet to run into anybody who was at all rude or upset that we were wearing Packer gear at their stadium or anything like that. So it kind of reminds you, everybody, we'd probably be, fans of Seattle if we were born in Seattle. Well, that's just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, you bring a unique perspective in that you're not just a fan of sports. We found out you also are the voice of the St. Norbert hockey team, men's hockey team there in the Green Bay area. Tell us a little bit what it's like calling those games for St. Norbert.
It's great. It's been 32 years. As long as their head coach, Tim Coughlin, has been there, and I was a student at St. Norbert, I've been doing the games. And it helps a lot that they've been a winning team pretty much that whole time. So there's always something on the line. And just, honestly, the best part is hearing from families who live in Canada, Western Canada. They live in Wyoming. They live in California. They live in Sweden. They live in, and them letting you know how important it is because they can't come to all the games. They want to hear and watch their kids play. And that we are able to deliver that is great. And so that we're always thinking about that, even in the January non-conference games that maybe don't feel so important. There are people out there who think it's important, and we make sure to deliver that. So,
and maybe people back in Wisconsin don't realize Seattle has an NHL team, the Kraken, who you don't hear a lot about. And you guys went to that game. What was that like?
Oh, the Kraken game was amazing. There was the lights, the noise, the story of the Kraken was just very engaging. And then they ended up winning pretty solidly. So we had a really good time.
Yeah, 5-1 win, and just in general, it's been talking to some of their fans. They're great hockey fans. They've only had the team a couple of years here, but they are definitely know what they're doing. They're into it. There's a growing hockey scene here. Some have even said it rivals the Seahawks in some ways for fans here, which is saying something because Seahawks fans have a reputation, right? So it was a great experience for us.
Oh, very cool. We're so glad to catch up with you. Thank you for listening to Civic Media WGBW and our show as well. Anything I didn't ask you wanted to tell people out there listening today?
Hi, kids.
Oh,
I miss you.
And go Pack Go. That's what we say.
There you go. Go Pack Go. Tim, Beth, we appreciate you being here so very much, and safe travels back to Wisconsin.
Thank you. Same to you.
There you go. Our interview with Packer fans Tim and Beth. Again, Tim, the voice of St. Norbert's hockey up there in Green Bay. Got to have him on the show. We appreciate them taking time to talk with us out there. And thanks for listening to the Civic Media app and WGBW. Speaking of the Civic Media app, 2 minutes left. Text the word LIST, LIST, If you do, you could win $100 this hour. LIST. Text it right now. Many thanks to Trigby Olson, our producer, engineer, Aaron Zombers, and all of you for listening. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. See you tomorrow.
And they were here.
Adios, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.